Hey there, Greg with Boom Up Engineering, and look at what we got here. I don't know if anybody recognizes this. I don't know how popular it is, but I've used it on past projects. This is Tycan chain. This particular Dyneema based chain is made by Greenpin, or at least it's manufactured for Greenpin. I'm not sure if they make their own or not, but it's tagged Greenpin Tycan. And what Tycan is basically these Mobius strip shaped links made out of laminated webbing that is Dyneema based. You know, Dyneema is that super strong fiber. You know, for the weight, it's way stronger than steel and all that fun stuff. Dyneema is a trade name for, or by DSM. Dutch state mines. There's a long history on DSM. It goes back to the Dutch government and coal mining. I think they were created in something like 1902, something to do with coal mines over there in Holland. And then they eventually got into chemicals and things like that. And then I believe somewhere in the 1960s they come up with some fiber that's similar to what's in this Dyneema, or maybe it's the same. I don't know all the details, but they came up with some good stuff. Somebody recognized it was good stuff, and it just took a little bit of time over the years to come up with uses for it. And I think in the 1990s, perhaps, you know, I think they started marketing Dyneema rope or something. I don't know all the details, but anyway, kind of an interesting history. So this is a Dyneema-based synthetic chain. Again, it's not unique to Greenpin and this Tycan name. As I understand it, you know, various manufacturers can get a license to produce the chain. So the alternative I'm the most familiar with is Doleco. I think they call it their DoNova fabric chain. So anyway, there is alternatives, but by far the most I see in the United States is Tycan. So as you can see from the tag here, hopefully, I'm shooting this with my cell phone, and the cell phone's taped to a fiberglass story pole of sorts, laying across the refrigerator for my camera stand. But this is a 6.8 metric ton rated vertical capacity chain sling. So 6.8 tons metric, that's almost 15,000 pounds. And what I have here actually is a 2-leg bridle. So it's got 2 legs of this Tycan chain, some connector links, and the company who made this, or at least assembled this bridle, they've got it rated at 19,200 pounds at 45 degrees. And I must note that marking is a little bit incorrect. What they did, the company that made this bridle, assembled it, they figured that the chain was good for 6.8 US tons, and then they derated it for 45 degrees, and that's where they got their 19.2. But that's going to be a little bit low for what it could be. So anyway, we've got what used to be Tycan's biggest chain, 6.8 metric ton, and now today we've got the big boy stuff. This chain here is their 10.3 metric ton chain, as you can see there. So these fabric chains are rated for overhead lifting. And if you're ordering it, you have to make sure you specify that. I don't know for sure, but I know at least in the beginning you could buy this and it's not labeled for overhead lifting, it's just rated for lashing. So the regulations and the safety factor, they're all different if you're just doing lashing. You know, since this is chain, they kind of went with a 4-to-1 safety factor that is typical to alloy steel chains and all the associated hardware and chain falls and stuff like that. Right or wrong, that's what they've done. And for lashing, you would be down to 2-to-1 safety factor is adequate, I believe, for all that stuff. So again, if you're going to order Tycan chain for lifting, you need to make sure it's actually certified for lifting. And look there, it says made in the EU, 100% Dyneema fiber, DNVGL technical qualification, all sorts of good stuff. So again, that's an important tag right there. So, you know, what is this stuff used for? Like I say, it kind of started out with coming up with an alternative to alloy chain for lashing down loads. and then I'm sure shortly after people want to start use it for lifting. Now, why would you want to use synthetic chain for lifting or even lashing? I mean, I guess the big reason is weight. You know, alloy chain is crazy heavy and cumbersome. You know, people get hurt trying to move the big stuff around. I can't even imagine what a 20-foot leg of this would be equivalent to a 1/2-inch alloy chain, and this stuff would be 5/8, and I can't even imagine what the weight would be on actual alloy chain, but it's whopper. So now you can see you can obviously do good things for lashing. What about lifting? Well, obviously you end up with a sling or a bridle or whatever that is easily adjustable for length. You know, you can single out a link here and start putting in your connection points on the various links and adjust your sling lengths so that you can level out payloads and whatnot. Now, yeah, you don't have to do that, but in some cases you may be able to eliminate using bulky and heavy and expensive chain falls to level your load. A lot of times it's enough just to adjust your leg lengths on your rigging, you know, in even these increments to get your payload level. And if you do need to fine tune it, well, that's when you can start playing with different size shackles. You know, you add in shackles or stack shackles to make some adjustment lengths. Or you buy the setups where they've got adjuster legs coming off their master link and special green pin hooks that hook right into these links, so you can take out a section of chain with the shortening legs. So you could do that, but that does add cost and weight and makes things kind of fussy. So I don't know. I don't have any adjuster legs on any of the bridles that I've worked with. So anyway, a little bit more interesting than that is that, you know, this 10.3 metric ton chain is it's newer than the 6.8, and it does start opening up some options for adjustable bridles that can handle a fair bit of weight. Like I say, this is 10.3 metric ton, so I believe that's I think it's 22,600 pounds vertical capacity in a single leg, and that's pretty good. That's pretty comparable to, you know, a blue round sling, those are typically good for 21,200. So you can start doing quite a bit with a 2-leg bridle. And like I say, you know, if you can eliminate, if you don't have to use a 10-ton chain fall, then you're not gonna use them. I mean, they're expensive and they're very heavy. You know, they weigh hundreds of pounds just for a chain fall, including the load chain and the hand wheel chain. So anytime I can eliminate a chain fall, I definitely do that. So here's maybe some good information if you are interested in Tycan chain and assembling bridles, or even just using the chain to make up slings and whatnot. This bridle here was made by a sling manufacturer, or, you know, a rigging shop, and they assembled this. And you can buy Tycan connectors. These are specific to the synthetic chain. You know, they've got a nice flat stirrup there to hold the chain. And one requirement of Tycan or green pin is that they want these links constrained so that they can't delaminate. You can see you can push them apart with your fingers. That's because these links are not sewn except about midway in the link. I think they're sewn on both sides, so the links stay together at the center, but where their load-bearing points are, they're not sewn together. And they want these links to be trapped in between something so that they can't start peeling apart and delaminating. What you're trying to avoid, and it took me a while to realize this till you actually have this stuff in your hands and, you know, you're looking at it. If you put this in the rounded palm of a hook, you know, that's probably fine, but they don't recommend it. So what can happen is, for example, you're hooking up your rig and things are a little bit off center, not perfect. You come up on the load, and then potentially these links could start peeling apart with a little bit of side load or things moving around, and this link's not going to be as strong if it starts coming under tension and these layers are pulled apart. Now this sling here, this rigging here has had some good loads on it, and that actually helps form these links a little bit to help keep them in place. But I've seen it even on light loads, where if you put it in a rounded palm and there's nothing constraining the links, you can see that to where the the links are not quite lined up and that it's under load. So that's, you look at right at the green pin literature and they warn against that. So they don't recommend doing this. They've got special hooks, which I don't have handy, that have kind of catches forged into the hooks to where the links settle in and they're kind of captive. So anyway, so this is a purpose-built two-leg bridle. It's got these fancy links on there, but as I was saying, my takeaway is that I would not, in certain cases anyway, I would not bother with these links. And I guess it depends on your application. Now look at the chain. It's rated at almost 20,000 pounds. It'd be higher if they did the proper rating. But look at this tiny master link. You know, what kind of crane hook are you going to be able to put that on? So I recently spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make use of this bigger chain and still fit the master link on a big hook. As you're working in construction, you know, and you're going to have bigger cranes on site, rough trains and all sorts of cranes. They're going to have bigger hooks on them, like a 130-ton Doleco. It's probably going to have a 100-ton hook on it, or a 100-ton Grove is going to have either a 100-ton or a 75-ton hook on it. And these master links, these master links here just aren't going to fit. So what do? You know, these links here are only going to have such a certain size diameter to the hammer lock here. They're not going to fit a bigger master link like what you need. So, like I say, I'd say in at least in certain cases, just forget about their special links, and you're going to have to go to alloy shackles to make your connections. Now I'm just showing standard screw pin alloy shackles here, screw pin anchor shackles here. Now you can get D shackles, alloy D shackles from, say, Skookum, but they're going to be expensive and probably a lot harder to get. So what I show here is just typical green pin. What do they call them? Super shackles maybe, but they are the alloy version of their screw pins. Now you could get bolted shackles if you're going to leave this bridle made up for any period of time. Sure, go ahead and get the bolt style shackles and cotter pin and all that fun stuff. But with where I'm at right now and jobs that I work on, this is actually pretty nice to have the rigging where you can break it down. You know, this stuff here, reasonably permanent. This stuff here, you'd be taking it apart at the end of shift, or when you're done using it same day. You know, this, I wouldn't be leaving this on the crane hook day in and day out as a everyday sort of thing. I mean, I can't say that I've tried it, but I don't know how long it would last with this stuff blowing in the breeze on a construction site, getting dirt in there and grinding down. I don't think I would run this every day, but when it's handy and you're lifting stuff where it's necessary to get things level, this stuff is great. So you can see I've gone with a Gunnebo. I think it's a MFX. I can't remember, but Gunnebo makes some pretty nice master links. They got the best spread that I've seen, and they obviously make some pretty big ones to fit some wider hooks. They also have some master links that have kind of a flat at the top, to where that better matches the actual shape of a crane hook. So, but this one here, that I think, like I said, I think it's the MFX. Look at that; it's even still marked made in Sweden. Gunnebo. Hopefully Crosby hasn't screwed anything up too much with them, but yeah, MFX 2016-10. So these this is a 12.5 ton metric, 12.5 metric ton shackle, and it fits just fine. Comes off and on the master link, and this is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking for, is how these fabric links fit in the opening of the shackle. That's where you want the strap to be. You don't want it up on the bow of the shackle. You want it down on the pin, and you want that strap being captive between those shackle ears. So, like I say, green pins, those are going to be your cost-effective alloy shackles, especially if you want screw pins. Crosby, you can get the bolt type, but they're going to be more expensive, and I know there's been, there's definitely been quality issues. Even this year, I've had to send some shackles back because they just don't meet, either they don't meet spec, or they're just, their fit up is so poor. So the other option to green pin could be Skookum, quite possibly the best shackles there are. They make screw pin alloy shackles up to, I believe, 85 tons. And one feature they've got over Crosby and some of the other manufacturers, I mean, green pin's the same, but they do some machining on their shackles. They actually have a counterbore here on the ear of the shackle, so you can get that shackle pin into that counterbore before you start twisting the pin and get the threads to engage. So it makes it a lot easier to get that pin in and threads engaged. So, and then usually, fit up's not going to be ultra perfect. They're not going to, like, the shoulder's not going to bear down all the way around, but they do a good job cleaning things up. Again, though, just like the green pins, counterboard ear for the shackle pin. I don't know, that was got for some reason binding up a little bit, but again, you can't beat the Skookums. They're a little bit expensive, but anything coming out of the States, like these, I think they're still made in Oregon or possibly Washington, but they're based in Oregon. But good stuff, and just something interesting. If you're using a 10.3 ton Tycan, you're going to want the 1-inch shackles here. The Skookum, for whatever reason, this particular size, the 1-inch, it's got an extra beefy bow to it. I don't know why, but it's a bigger diameter bow, and this thing's rated at 16 U.S. tons. The green pin is 12.5 metric, so the Skookum is still a fair bit stronger, and I'm sure partly because of all the extra meat in it. I don't know why some, few of their sizes have a fair bit bigger bow to it, or at least this one does, but the pin size is the same. I don't know why. I guess that was just historically the way they built them. What else? I just have some nice hooks here. If you start using these bridles, like I say, one good use is for lifting precast concrete. Here, in a lot of construction sites, I can't just go use alloy chain or binder chain with open hooks. I got to have hooks with latches to keep the safety people happy. And these P-Wag hooks, let's see, this is an HSWP. These P-Wag hooks are some of the best I've come across. I think these are grade 12. I always buy hooks with forged latches anymore, at least when I can. It's too bad. It's unfortunate that Crosby has a lot of stamped steel, but they don't last. They get tore up pretty quick, and then you gotta have a lot of latch kits on hand to keep your hooks in shape. So I use these quite a bit with precast concrete, trying to get into the lift iron pockets, and you'll need a compact, strong hook. So even though these hooks would be the weakest link with either of these chains, this is rated at 11,000 pounds, whereas this chain's good for about 15. You can shackle into them and make your connection onto the precast. The bigger size doesn't always fit. This would be a better match for this particular chain, but you just can't get, the lifting iron pockets just aren't size big enough all the time to get this big hook in there. Now here is a Tycan hook, sling hook. This is very nice. This particular size is paired up with this bigger chain. I don't have the pin, but you would just pin that off and keep this on your bridle. Now, yeah, I mean, I think this hook was probably about 250 bucks. I somewhere in that range, but it's a very nice hook, forged latch. There's a big spread there. This is a strong beefy hook. Here's a couple red rounds to show you what they might look in there. A little bit crowded, but I've seen worse. If you had some higher, what would you say, some fancier slings, such as maybe a Yale loops or something, which they're strength wise, they're about the same size as wire rope. You could do real well with that. So if you want to take your 2-leg bridle and split it into 4, got these hooks on there. Yeah, that works pretty slick. So pretty nice sling hooks by Tycan, and they're the only ones that I know of that have some of these accessories like this. Like they've got purpose-built connector links and these nice sling hooks and grab hooks. And Doleco is, I think, slowly getting into that, or I'm not exactly sure where they're at. It's just that Doleco is harder to find, and it seems like thus far the little bit of price checking I've done, Doleco is more expensive than Tycan. All this Tycan has been sourced from I&I Sling out of Knoxville. And I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions or comments, or I'd be curious to see who else is using the Tycan chain a lot. I know on a previous project we probably bought at least a half a mile of this stuff, using it to hold up piping and other things in the overhead of buildings when we're doing construction, using it as a secondary suspension. We'll hoist stuff up with chain falls and slings, and then we'll come and add this as a solid leg rigging to secure things during the construction process. So it's good. It's great stuff. It's just because of the lightweight and high strength aspect. But again, I'd be curious to listen to other people and how they're utilizing this stuff. And again, I would highly suggest, if you want big master links, I couldn't find any master link combinations that would work with these connectors and give me a suitable size master link to fit on any sort of RT crane. Like this hook, this master link right here won't even fit on our 75-ton Grove. And I'm trying to think, it's got at least I think it's got a 50-ton hook on it, or 55 or something like that. And this link would get jammed up on there. So if trying to fit, rough terrain cranes or all-terrain cranes or whatever of a reasonable size, definitely take a look at the Gunnebo or Gunnebo master links, the wide ones, and just go with alloy shackles to make your connections. One possibility, it's a little bit expensive and it is heavy, but let's say I've got this bridle here. Let me grab the end. So if I've got this bridle here, just imagine another leg on there, and I've got the sling hooks on here. Now if I want to do an adjustment on this leg and make it shorter, sure, I could try to, what do you do with the hook? You can probably clip it into the rope, but trying to get it out of the way while you're shackling into an intermediate link is maybe a little bit of a pain. But shoot, you can do this. You can just switch the legs around where you've got the shackle down your payload, and you've got your 2 sling hooks up at the master link. So just flop your rigging leg, your sling legs around. Seems like that's a reasonable deal to me. If you're kicking out, looks like they clear okay on here. So I wonder if these hooks fit. Nope, not quite. Well, go on around there. Doesn't quite fit. Anyway, good stuff here with the Tycan chain. That's about all I got, guys. Thanks for watching.